in, I'm trying to think about it, when we're like 2010. And so it's been a long time since I've had
Yeah.
them, but I've had a wolfhound since then and multiple Great Danes since then. And the wolfhound really changed my perspective because I adopted him when he was 9, and from this woman who was like, she fed him the minute he came in from a big run. She fed him only once a day, these big meals. And it was like all this stuff that I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to bloat. I'm too scared. And she kept telling me, he's not going to bloat. He's not going to bloat. He's not going to bloat. And so I was like, okay, okay. She keeps saying he's not going to bloat. So I still did the resting thing. I still just couldn't let go of that. It just makes
Yeah.
me nervous that they don't rest before and after their meals. But I did start because he had all these serious appetite issues that were just super complicated appetite problems and skin problems that we cleared up with a prey model diet. That also changed my whole opinion about them needing some veggies. And he just went against all these things that I knew, and he taught me so much. And that there's some animals that actually do very poorly with any vegetable in the diet, and he was one of those, and I had never had one of those before, and so it changed my perspective on that. I learned a lot from him, but in a lot of ways, a lot of things, but the dietarily, those are the things I learned. But that he did best. He finally thrived. His weight finally normalized, his appetite finally normalized, his skin stuff finally normalized when I just went to whole prey once a day, big meals.
Yeah.
And it was like that totally was the magic combo for him, and that worked super well. And it was that's how it worked. They did great. And so now since then, I feed twice a day or 3 times a day when they're little puppies. About 6 months of age, they start to have less of an interest in their morning meal. And then I go to two, whenever that happens, they naturally usually will kind of be less interested in the morning meal. And that's when I drop off the morning meal and I go to midday and evening. And then between the age of like 9 to 10 months and a year, they usually have more of an appetite in the evenings. And by a year, I usually go to just one meal a day in the evenings or the late afternoons. And that's how I feed my adults. And I even feed my cats that way, which is super unheard of. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
do that, but I
But
do.
isn't
But it's been working great, and I for many, many, many years, and several all kinds of different dogs at this point. And I feel very comfortable making that recommendation for most people. And I think that that works fine, and I'm not worried about bloat. So the one dog I had bloat was my most chill out, not anxious guy at all. He was over the age of 9. Oh, and they also, if they're neutered, I think that increases their risk too. So he was also neutered, and he was eating out of a raised bowl. And it was, but I had the rest period between and after the meal. But he also was bloating, and I knew he was bloating, and I was freaking out. And I brought him to the vet, and they were like, "Why do you think he's bloating? He doesn't seem like he's bloating." I was like, "He's bloating. Get him on the table right now." I was like freaking out, like he needs to be immediately. And they were like, "Well, the surgeon's gonna come in a couple hours." I'm like, "A couple hours, he could be dead." I was freaking
yeah.
out. And anyway, so he was fine because I got him in so quickly. And they were like,
Yeah.
he is actually bloating. I'm like, I know that. Get him in.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
finally confirmed. Yeah, I was like, I already knew that. But he just had those early symptoms, and I was able to get him in immediately. And they were able to fix him, and then we tacked his stomach and everything, and he was fine. He lived many more years after that. He died when he was 12, and he was 9 when he bloated, and he did great after that. But it was it wasn't he didn't fit the exact picture of a dog that would bloat. Like I actually thought that she would have been the bloating dog. She's really nervous, and she never bloated, and she had
Never
a way
bloated.
deeper, like he was a bigger, heavier guy. Like he was a big, heavy Great Dane, but she like his bones and everything, and she was more of like a little wispy Great Dane. And she never bloated. No one else I've had, touch wood, have bloated
Yeah.
yet. I hope it doesn't ever happen.
It's
Her mom passed away from bloat. I mean, these things do happen in the breed, and even on raw. And that's the other thing too, is people think that when they're raw fed, they're not going to bloat. They can still bloat. It can still happen. It's probably less common, I would imagine. It probably reduces the risk for them to bloat, but it can still happen. Anything can
yeah.
happen.
Well, I think it's interesting when going back to talking about fasting, and you commented about how your dogs drop off and not want to eat their morning breakfast. Do you know how many times people the amount of money and time and stress is put on a pet parent that their pet isn't eating their breakfast or isn't eating their dinner.
They're not supposed to.
They
They're not
want
supposed to eat breakfast because they're supposed to go out and hunt. Their natural biorhythms and their hormones, their leptin levels and their ghrelin levels for hunger,
yeah.
regulating appetite, also their ability to metabolize food, their ability to digest food, their pH levels